everyone. So welcome to another episode of the Lady Trucking CEO podcast. I am Camille Kitchener-Ellis, your host. And today I'm so excited because we have an awesome guest with us today. She is one of the leaders in the dispatching space. And I would like for her to go ahead and introduce herself. Go ahead.
Well, hi, Camille. It's very nice to be invited to your podcast. We are very proud of you doing all this because we do need empowerment in this industry. My name is Alexandra Sokolenko, and yes, I am a founder of Dispatch Training Center. I am also running trucking company. I am insurance agent, RTS agent, and life insurance producer as well. So I am covering lots of different bases when I am teaching my classes. But Dispatch Training Center is kind of like my baby. And I'm very proud that we grew really fast during the COVID, and we are helping everybody because we started doing it online in our live classes.
Wow. Okay. So, so that's like three different businesses that you are running. So you have your dispatch business, you have the trucking company. So you run different trucks. You dispatch your trucks, obviously, right?
We have a full dispatch service.
Uh-huh.
Also, I teach safety and compliance, and I'm a national safety director in USA. So yes, we do cover all the basics in trucking, plus of course RTS agent and insurance agent as well. Besides all the trucking, I still an active real estate agent. So I do have lots of different rounds. I'm a busy lady.
Yes, indeed. So thank you so much for taking the time to come and talk to us. So let's go back a little bit before coming here to the US, before doing all of this awesome work that you are doing. Take us back to like maybe 14-year-old Alexandra. Like, did you think that this is what your life would be like? Did you think that you would be in the trucking industry? Like, what was life like?
Well, not really. If we taken me to 14 years old, I grew up in Soviet Union. I was born and raised in Ukraine. I came to USA when I was 22 years old. My first degree is a master's of art and literature. Mm-hmm. So I do speak a few different languages, and I used to translate poem and literature. No, trucking was not even something I would think about, dream about. I have no one in trucking back in Ukraine. We don't really have big semi trucks running around, especially in Soviet Union. So no, I would never ever picture doing anything with this kind of industry. Never.
Wow. So how did you get started?
So when I came to USA, I was 22 years old, and I can tell you this, the first year was tough as for all immigrants. I was babysitting, I was doing lots of different cleaning jobs. And then I said to myself, I'm never going to work for nobody. So I opened physical therapy offices, and I was running it successfully for 10 years. I had 36 people working under me, and then I decided to sell it and go fully in real estate because I love real estate. I have been doing it for 18 years now. And of course, I was making lots of money building houses, selling houses, and then crash happened, right? 2006, 2007, and like most of American people or business people who were in real estate, we all lost money. So one day I was in minus $2.5 million. I thought I'm already set for life. And no, I was single mom at the moment, and I ended up with few $1,000s on my account. So I had to start looking into a new business. And while I was going through my list, because since I sold my physical therapy offices, I was like, I'm not going back. I could have, but I was like going through the list of the people who I used to sell real estate. And all of them, especially in Chicago, and everybody was in trucking. I'm like, okay, every time they come to the office, they always drive in luxury cars. They always go on vacations. I like, what is this trucking? So I started reaching out to most of them, and like everybody told me that dispatchers make good money, and 95% were telling me it's impossible to be a dispatcher, especially for women. And like, what is so hard to be a dispatcher? I have negotiation skills. I'm a business-oriented person. I can multitask. I speak few other languages. And I said, no, trucking is totally different animal. but I'm a stubborn Ukrainian. So I found a way to start. And it was so funny because nobody was teaching that dispatch. I found some course on online. I paid $1,000.
$1,000 for an online course?
$1,000 for printout. They sent me 2 big books for $1,000 with no refunds or nothing. And actually it was for freight brokerage because I didn't really know what I'm looking for. So when I put freight agent, so I still have it because I show sometimes to my students what I got out of there, at least terminology. So I knew who is a shipper, who is a receiver. Did not really help me with dispatch, but I was trying to have some knowledge before I go into it. And I found one friend of mine who said, if you come to the office and if you sit next to me for 3 days, and if you're going to get an idea, then you're going to become a dispatcher. Well, I got to the office. It's 22 guys sitting there. I'm the only one woman.
Wow.
And it's, let's be honest, Eastern Europeans in Chicagoland, right?
Wow.
So all the swearing I hear, all the screaming, drivers coming into the office, everybody's unhappy. And he's like, just pick up the phone. And if they tell you $3,000, ask for 33. Well, I asked for 4 and I got 4 because I know how to negotiate. Negotiation is not the problem. But then when I was asking why I'm asking for 4,000 or 32, he's like, just don't even ask the question, just book the loads. And I booked 1 day, 2nd day, 3rd day, until I made the first mistake. Instead of posting dry van, I posted reefer and I booked the load for reefer, but we had only dry vans. And he started screaming at me. And I like, okay, guys, maybe I need to learn equipment first. Maybe I need to learn the commodities first. Maybe I need to learn the market first. And they're like, well, we don't have time to teach you. And he said, your negotiation skills are great, but you know what? We don't really want to pay you what you're asking for. And they wanted me to dispatch 16 trucks right away. And I'm like, okay, I'll start from the misery salary just to learn the business. I was dispatching 14 trucks after 2 weeks. And after 1 month, I said, enough is enough. I went and I opened my own MC. Most of the drivers, because they like my negotiation skills, my organizational skills, they came with me. And that's how.
Wow.
I guess.
That's awesome. So, I heard you say that when you first got there, you were the only woman in the room. What was your thought process when you saw that situation? Like, how did you feel in that moment?
Well, I felt like, what's wrong with this industry? Why is it so male dominated, Because I can tell you for a fact, women negotiate better. Women think faster. I mean, I don't want to put like male against female.
Yeah, we're not putting down the men here, but we're celebrating the women.
Yeah. But I can tell you that a lot of times when you're negotiating, we can come up with a reasoning faster because we do this every day at home, right? We have kids, we have households. And I was like, what's wrong with so many male owning this business? Why women do not open trucking company? And I guess you know why? Because it's a big misrepresentation. Everybody say trucking is only for guys. It's so hard. It's so stressful that women cannot run it. Well, I am a living proof of it. Yes, we can run it. Yes, we can be successful. And yes, we can do everything, starting with driving truck, doing safety and compliance, dispatching, being the owner, being an accountant. So, I mean, this has to
every area.
Every area we can do it. And I think for the last year and a half, it starts switching. I see more women owning trucking businesses. I see more women in start organizing independent dispatch service. So I'm very glad that, women just go and finally start pursuing their dreams.
Yeah. Because even when you said that, when you were trying to figure out what to do because you didn't want to work for anyone anymore, and all of the people that you called were in this trucking, and you were like, trucking, I think even initially I had that same feeling as well. It seemed like you did when you hear of the trucking industry, you think something else. You definitely don't think there's any place in this industry for women. But that's one of the reasons why I started this podcast, is to really help our listeners understand that, yes, absolutely, there is space for you as a woman in this $8 billion industry, and you can really help change the trajectory of your life and your family's life as well. So what are some of the changes that began to happen as you got into the trucking industry, where your family was concerned? Because I know that for women, with being on the road, or the idea of being on the road in a truck, they're thinking about their family and how their family is going to be impacted by getting into this industry. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, personally, me, I never was exposed to the side of being on the road. So I don't really have the CDL. I never drove the truck. I had a lot of women drivers working for me. And it always was kind of challenging, because we were trying to make sure that dispatchers are scheduling their time, especially for events like birthdays, like graduations, like family time, vacation time. So that was done for me automatically. So every driver, whenever they requested, they need to go, and sometimes things happen. Kids get sick, so it was never the problem. Can tell you this, that working with the women drivers was way easier, because they were really organized on paperwork. And actually they had an easier time check in, check out, and get unloaded earlier than some of the males. So that was great. But what since I was running the business and I had women working for me, the environment was a little bit different, because in my office we had 4 girls working for me, and only one maintenance guy who was in charge of all the maintenance. So we had the challenges sometimes when we would be hiring the drivers, and it would come kind of not unprofessional level, but because we were the girls, so they would think that it's okay when you come to the office and you start, let's be honest, flirting or saying some jokes which were not appropriate. So that was some challenges that I had to kind of manage and let them know that, well, just because they're girls, you still have to respect them, and you have to listen what they're telling you to do, because we have procedures, so that was the challenges. Also with some drivers, again, because they are on the road, and since we are girls in the office, instead of, for example, just making a phone call and go to the point, right? You need to do this, this, and this. We had a lot of times blah, 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 because they want to talk to you, right? So that was one of the challenges. But I think the hardest problem for me was as a woman when I started buying equipment, when I was start looking for even factory insurance. That's why after a while, I just become the RTS agent. I just became my own insurance agent, because I was taking advantage on so many levels. I can even tell you the first year I'm a reefer company, I had insurance agent from Iowa, family man with 4 kids, begging me for his business. And you know what? I'm like, okay, you can have my business. And knowing that I was a reefer company, giving me the policy where no frozen loads were covered, no seafood was no covered. So I was lucky that I did not have any cargo accidents. And we had a chance to have a cargo claim, but we resold the product. And when I called him and I said, so what is going to happen if we have this claim? And he's like, well, it's frozen, it's not covered. And I remember I was like in shock. I was like, what do you mean it's not covered? I am 100% reefer company. And he's like, well, that's why I wanted to help you with the quote, because it was expensive. And I'm like, so you won my business because your quote was few thousand less, just because none of my cargo was covered.
So what's the point of having
the point? So
in the first place?
You know what? I am direct, and I told him, so I am having family business, I have kids. So just because of you not being honest, I could be losing my business right now. How do you feel about this? And he's like, oh, Alex, I'm going to fix it. Forgive me. And you know what? Till this moment, I regret that I did not make a complaint, because I felt bad. Man had 4 kids. But you know what? How many other people he
Did he
might have
take advantage of?
put off out of business because some people did
Mm,
not get lucky. So after that, I went and I became insurance agent and I start, and that's why when people come to me, I make sure what cargo you're going to be hauling, where you're going to be going, and sometimes even telling them, you know what, I know from my own experience, maybe you need to have a general liability, maybe you need to have extra coverage because
mm,
you can get out of trucking really fast. One accident, one cargo claim, and that's it, you are out. But
mm.
you put already so much into this, you put so much money and you building this as a business because you
Yeah.
want to pass it maybe to your kids, maybe sell it at some point, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
I just really had a hard time with meeting people who would not take advantage of you. And I think because as you come in as a woman, they think, well, she doesn't know anything. And yes, I didn't really know much, I didn't really know much. So I had a lot of things to learn on my own mistakes.
That's why the need for mentorship and education in this industry is so important. Because if you don't, like, you really don't know what you don't know, especially if you're moving from one particular profession into the trucking industry, your knowledge, the knowledge gap is huge. And so if you don't have someone to kind of hold your hand or to at least be that person in your ear to say, okay, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to ask about. This is what you need to look out for. These are some of the things that you could say if they say this, just to kind of really help to start to get your footing, especially with starting a new trucking company. So it's so important, like the work that you do with mentoring people and really teaching them, providing the education that is needed for people, for women, as well as for anyone really getting into this industry is super important. So when it comes to your family and the balancing business and family, like that home life balance, how did you handle that?
Well, I can tell you this can be challenging, especially now since most of us, we working from home, right? Due
Mm-hmm.
to the COVID, so we moved our offices to home. You cannot become 100% workaholic because in trucking, it's always something to do. It's always an
It's a
extra. You
24/7
start a
business.
sport, it's extra. So what I suggest, just stay on a schedule like any other job. So even if you work from home, you start at 7, but you put 4 o'clock, whatever you finish, you're done. You have to go 5, whatever. You need to take a break. For me, it was challenging, especially this year, with all the classes and running the business. Yes, I work from home, but you don't even have time to go have a lunch. So I start putting on my phone, believe it or not, because what happens, you get hungry, right? Then you get stressed out. Then another phone call. Then angriness comes, not because you're angry, just because you're just simply hungry, right?
Yes.
Then you have noises at home. Then your kid maybe come and start asking you question while you dispatch. And so this is the challenges. But my advice for girls who come in trucking, yes, it's a business. Yes, it's stressful, but try to be on schedule. Even talking to the driver, because a lot of them think if they are working for you, you should be available 24/7. Well, no, we're not the machines. We also human beings. We also have holidays, right? We also have Saturday and Sundays, unless it's an emergency. And that's what I think the challenges is. You have to discuss this in the beginning. When you meet with a driver, when we meet with the owner operator, yes, we always have emergency. Of course, my phone is always on, but let's respect each other. So if you're working and you dispatch and you have all the information and nothing happening, well, maybe it's no need for extra phone call. Because if I have 15 or 20 of you, and that's what my mistake. The first year, my kids said, Mom, what kind of business are you running now? Because you always working, you always on the phone. We cannot really do anything because you always answering the phone, always some cancellation. And it took me 2 years. It took me 2 years to finally sit down. And I can tell you this, I was at the breaking point because it was too much. It was too much. And also, I think you really need to find some help, qualified help. When you scale up, yes, you can do everything because if you already open a trucking company, that means that you are a business-oriented person. That means that you goal-oriented. That means that you workaholic, but you need to learn to delegate. Some of the
Yes.
things is not worth your time and money.
And
And
setting those boundaries.
boundaries, setting boundaries, because for example, even with my classes, if I'm going to be answering every email or send a homework after the class, it takes me hours and hours. When yes, I am teaching, I'm already spending 4 hours every class live, it takes a lot of energy. I'm answering all the phone calls, I'm still dispatching. So delegation, and I had to learn it the hard way.
Yes.
So
Yes. Finding the right person to put into your business and really training them to do the job correctly is super, super important. I know that it's hard to let go sometimes
yeah,
because
it's hard
because
to
you
get
feel like you're the only.
of that, like, oh my god, this is my baby, this is my
Yeah.
but I can tell you this, if you build a team, you can expand faster and you can go to different levels. Again, I went through my own experience. If I would delegate from the beginning and I would not hold on to my baby truck and this is just mine, I would probably reach some of the goals way faster and I
Yeah.
would not get burned out. Of course, I did not quit. I was at the point where that, when I built up my company and I went to almost 49 units, I sold my company and I rebuilt my husband's company. So I'm running his company. And then I start doing the dispatch service because of what? Because at some moment I stop teaching people. It's hard, believe me. You're gonna get upset because a lot of times you teach somebody, you give all the heart, you show them, and what they do, they just go and they just leave you because
And they
they
don't.
learn from you and they just open their own business. It happens so many times, but you cannot let that stop you.
Right.
That's why maybe family business and have like close friends working with you, sometimes it's not an ideal, but maybe family business,
Yeah.
so that you can kind of count on somebody.
Yeah. So definitely that family and friends dynamic could be a little tricky,
It's tricky.
especially like you really have to have clear operating procedures and everyone has to really know what your vision is. Everyone has to be sold in on what your vision is for the business so that they can fit in seamlessly. And that's another important thing when you're looking for people to work in the business. If you really paint the picture and sell your vision to them, then it'll more likely work out than if you just kind of expect them to know what to do. So that clarity piece is super, super important. So what would you say at this point would be one of your biggest success? Like what is that thing that drives you to say, you know what, this right here, this is why I do what I do. This is why I love this work.
I think it's my dispatch training and all the students, every time when we have success story, everybody who opens a company, everybody who says, Alex, because of you, I changed my life. We do award a lot of free classes. We have YouTube channel. So as of today, we have 4,500 subscribers. And believe me, we started only in April.
Okay, wow,
We are
that's
running,
awesome.
yes, we started running online classes only a year ago, and I did it too, trying on my friends. So on October, I had only one student because I used to do them live in Chicago. Then I did another one with other two students in November. In December of last year, our online class, I already had 36 people. And since then, we never had less than 35, 40 people per month in dispatch. But also we do IFTA class, safety and compliance.
Yes, yes.
So usually they come back. They come back to safety because they understand without knowledge of the safety, they cannot really succeed. Plus, most of my students who come to me, they're business-oriented people. So they are planning to run this as a business. They're not really looking to go to work as a company dispatcher again from 7 to 5.
Right.
Because then it doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
Then it's just like any other job. But adding the safety and compliance so they can offer extra service, adding the IFTA calculations so they can offer this, that's what makes them different. So my biggest thing that I'm telling you, when my girls texted me like today, Vanessa, she just finished class last week, 2 weeks ago, and she texted me. She has 3 new carriers, 2 power only, and a box truck, and she's like, I could have done it without you. I could have done it without you. You know that another guy.
She could not have done it without you.
No, that's what she said. That's what she said. Because you know why? You know why, Camille? She took 3 classes before me. He already spent money, and somehow they did not put it all together. And I tell you why we are different. Because first, my class is alive. Like I'm talking to you right now. So I see all my students. I can look at their eyes and know, wow, Camille, are you understanding me? Are we lost? And I will call on you. And I said, Camille, so what does it mean, MC? What is the USD? Interest and you. So I'm bringing you back because,
Yes.
4 hours, it's a long time. Secondary, we have quizzes and homework. To start our classes, you have to pre-study at least 10 days. And then the funniest part and the best enjoyable part is making the real phone calls. Since we own real trucking company and we have dispatch service, we have carriers who we need to dispatch. So they will be negotiating that first load.
Okay.
So when they make that real phone calls, and the first phone call, it's always stressful. Believe me, I have the guys who are like 45 years old, who've been the truck drivers, who are like so empowered. And when they have to make that first phone call, they're sweating, they're getting red, they're afraid to ask, and they're like, Alex, help me. And it's just like, and after that, after first 2-3 phone calls, finally everybody get confident.
It's so nerve-wracking though. That first, I don't know. I've experienced exactly what you're talking about. And I'm sure you experienced it too, but it's just that first fear, that fear of that first phone call, like, and once you get past it, you're like, oh, why was I so scared?
Especially after you book your first load, you're like, really? And most of them like, so I did book it, like, yeah, and you book in a really good rate, more than national average. And then they book another one. And they're like, Alex, I'm booking loads. I know what I'm doing. I'm like, yeah, I know you know what you're doing. And it's a good time for them to kind of see what else they have to go back, what they have to read, what they have to work on. But we really spend a lot of time on negotiations and markets. But we start from the basics. You know, how much is the last questions in my course? You know, because people usually say, oh, you need to just ask extra money. No. You need to know commodities, you need to know markets, you need to know production, you need to know distribution, supply and demand, you need to know popularity, you need to know even density of the fruits before you choose strawberry or blueberry. You need to know the exclusions from your policy, you need to know equipment, you know?
Yeah, so
when you have a strong foundation in logistics, because that's why it's called logistics, this is a science of moving freight. It's not just the word, this is actually science. So behind this, we have numbers, we have operational costs, we have negotiations, we have spot market, regular market, we have predictions. So that's how I'm teaching. Maybe because, as I told you, when I got to USA, I also got my MBA in calendar management. So when I am teaching, I'm trying to put it like on a different scale. It's not just the dispatching, because without good dispatching, no carrier can survive. And it's not just about posting the truck.
And it's so important for people to know that it's like you have to consider the driver and everything that they have to go through just to get the load from one place to another. And like you said, really understanding, okay, what the weight of the load and all of these different details that
HOS, right? You need to know hours of regulations. You need to know how to look at that logbook. You need to know your driver, what is his hometown, when he wants to be home, what is his equipment, how old is his truck and trailer, because maybe you don't even want to put him through mountains because you don't want him to have breakdown. So there's so many things you need to know before you're going to start negotiating.
Yes, indeed. You know? So I know that like right now with what's happening in the world around us, a lot of women are leaving the workforce because of different mandates and things that are happening. And so they may be looking for other opportunities to get into the trucking industry or to get into dispatching. And so what would you say are like the top three steps that someone could take if they're thinking of entering the trucking industry?
Well, if you're trying to change the field, probably, number one, to become a CDL driver is not an option for a lot of us. Because, for example, me, I'm not going to go on the road. I am proud of all the women, they are my heroes who are on the road. It takes courage and it's not an easy job. So maybe that's an option for some people, but let's put it out. This is like kind of becoming a CDL driver. But what can we do service in this industry? And we have 3 levels. So you can be dispatcher, just a company dispatcher. But again, we are talking about leaving some job. So we're not looking for another job where we have to be from 7 to 5 with all the mandates, right? So we're looking for something different. So you can look at the dispatch as independent dispatcher.
Okay, and so just to be clear, if there's someone listening that doesn't know, that has no idea about the trucking industry, just really quickly, just give a quick synopsis of what a dispatcher does. So they could be a dispatcher that does.
Oh, dispatcher does negotiations on behalf of carrier to find the loads, check their transit, do the paperwork. You can include invoicing, for example. So you're going to be dealing with load boards. You will need to learn the equipment. You need to know the market, and you will be representing the carrier. Okay. I want right here to clear for everybody one more time. I'm repeating this every day. I'm like preaching every day. People asking me, if I want to be an independent dispatcher, do I need to have my own motor carrier number? No, you don't. You will be representative carrier. Do I need to have my primary liability insurance, my cargo insurance? No, again, you're going to be working on behalf of the carrier who needs to meet those regulations to have an active number. Do I need to have a BOC3 on file? Not again. It's all responsibility of carrier who you're working for. It can be few things that you might need to come up with as expense for this business. Well, you might need to invest in internet phone. You need 2 screens. You need a desktop. Pay attention, 2 screens. You're not going to succeed with 1 screen. Right here, do not buy tiny screens. Buy at least 32, 36, 2 of them. Do not buy fancy Apple. Most of the applications do not work with Apple well. So save your money. Other people saying, do I need a printer? Nowadays, everything with Adobe, we don't even print documents anymore. So save your money, get Adobe for $15 a month subscription. That's all you need. What else? Probably you will need a good phone, updated phone, because a lot of apps you can download and we booking loads through the apps. You don't even need to post your trucks and lots of times because all of the brokers have the apps. So again, you are independent dispatcher on behalf of carrier. How many carriers you can have? It's up to you. How many can you handle? So let's pretend, Camille, you're starting and you have your husband. I believe you told me that your husband is in trucking.
Yes.
Of course, you can handle him because it's only 1 truck. But since you're already doing this, why not to book an extra 2-3 drivers who also have their own MCs, right? So you can provide this as an independent dispatch under their authority. So you're gonna make an agreement between you and carrier for what? For providing service, finding the loads, finishing the paperwork, because usually we do finish their invoices with a factoring of physical invoices, but I don't believe not having factoring is smart idea, but everybody has different opinions. So now you are independent dispatcher. So this is one option. Second one, again, dispatch is not for everybody because some people afraid of that phone call. They are not good in negotiation. They frozen up when they pick up the phone. They cannot even say. So, or they're just gonna, okay, how much? Okay. Oh, they're afraid to ask questions. That doesn't mean that you cannot come to trucking because we have a second part, safety and compliance. Safety and compliance, you don't really have to talk that much. You have to do a lot of paperwork. You need to learn regulations. You need to help them with, again, as independent safety and compliance person. How many carriers you can handle? I have the girl who in California, she's handling 56 carriers outside of her home. Now she's actually learning how to do dispatch because they have been paying this for dispatcher for her husband, and somebody was not even doing a good job. So I told her, you can do it. It's only one truck. So she's finishing the class now. Her husband finished the class, but that's what she does. She finished our safety class. So now she's adding extra service. Before she used to do only permits. She used to do IFTA. She never did the compliance for hire and termination because she never learned. So she invested her money. Now she has 56 companies already. She's gonna add this service.
That's awesome.
You know, so safety and compliance. So here we have dispatch, safety and compliance. Then again, the third option. What is the third option? Open the company, start buying equipment, hiring the drivers, right? And it's not that easy. So it would help if you at least have husband or boyfriend or dad or brother, at least one dependable driver to start with. That would be good. But still, a lot of people come to business, they don't have relatives who drive truck. So you can buy equipment, you can open MC and start running your small trucking company. So 3 options.
Wow. And you know what I noticed with each option, it caters to a different type of personality.
Yeah.
So the dispatch option are for people who love to talk to people.
Salespeople, the people who can even sell the air right now.
Yes.
Right, Camille? Can I tell you the fresh air from Chicago right now? It's a fall. It smells so great. You know what? I'm selling it for $4.99, but I give you discount. I'll send it to you via Zoom for $2.99. Would you like to smell the fresh?
I would love to smell. I could almost smell it now.
So
yeah. So people who are people oriented, who are outgoing, people who are more gregarious, and really love to interact and talk to people would do great as a dispatcher.
And people who are not afraid of no's.
Yes.
Because you're going to receive lots of no's and you're going to receive lots of rejections when you even book the load. That's what takes. You don't take it personally.
Exactly.
That's when you're going to succeed. But then, like me, for example, I teach safety. I know the safety. Do I want to do safety every day? No. I don't like paperwork. I don't like just sit and count the numbers and write.
I hate paperwork.
But we have so many people who love doing that.
Exactly.
They used to work in an accounting department. They used to work in a human and resources. They used to just run somebody's offices. They're afraid of the phone, but they're great people organizing paperwork on time, filing your getting permits.
Super detail-oriented people. So all my detail-oriented ladies out there, maybe you could be in safety and compliance, you know, come in and do a service for the carriers out here because most truck drivers, though, are not detail-oriented when it comes to paperwork. First of all, they don't even know all the regulations.
You know, a lot of them come to us already and to other people when they missed something. Oh, I forgot to file UCR. Oh my God, they're canceling my IFTA account because I did not pay. Oh my God, my MC is inactive because I never enrolled in a new entrant audit. Only on a new entrant audit, people are paying us from $500 to $1,500. Ladies, it's gonna take you 10 minutes to do it. And how many companies do we have there? We have lots and lots of carriers.
Yeah.
So if you learn how to do it and you advertise, believe it or not, it can be not just a supplemented income, it can be your full income.
Yep. Because I remember when we just got started when I was still working as a pre-K teacher and we had just started running, I had no idea about what safety.
But you were paying for everything.
We were paying for everything. $1,600.
Open MC, then you paid for BOC3 form, that you pay for clearinghouse, everything. So you pay thousands of dollars. That's actually another reason why I'm also doing every 2 months webinar on how to open trucking company. It's 3 hours intense webinar, and you can come in, and when we go step by step, and I'm giving you all the instructions, all the links, you see in a class what exactly to click and what you need to do. So actually, yes, you're paying $199, but you saving at least $2,000. And you finally have a structure and you're not missing anything. Because a lot of people, I'm telling you, even my own husband, he said, why are you doing this? Isn't it better they come to you and they pay you $1,500? Well, for me, I like to change this industry with knowledge, because I do believe, yes, you can pay me $1,500, but if you still do not know why did you have to file BOC3, why do you need to update your USDOT, why do you need IFTA pay on time, you're not going to succeed. You might succeed for 6 months, hopefully a year, and then you're going to lose that MC. And I don't believe in it, because most of the people who come in truck and they've been on the road already for 5-10 years, finally they're going to go on their own. But the lack of education, and a lot of people just take advantage of them. Because how many times did you hear, Camille, you're not able to do it by yourself. You cannot open MC by yourself.
And then when I realized
you can go to FMCSA, click
for free. For free.
I mean, you pay $300 to federal government.
Oh yes, but the process.
Yeah, process. Same with the UCRs nowadays. Right now, UCR is open. How much people charge? I've seen people charging from $20 to $150 per UCR. How long does it take? Click USDOT. How many trucks you have? Click, put the credit card. 5 minutes.
It's Once I found out, we realized, like in the middle of last year, I said, I think I could do this. I don't think we need to be paying these people $600. It was $1,600 they charged us for the year. Well, for the quarter or something. I think it was for the year. And they still had to get all the information from me. They needed my DOT number. They needed my MC number. They needed all my miles. And I still had to look up all of the information just to give to them so that they can just log in. They needed my login information. And I said, wait a minute now, hold on.
I have that happening in my IFTA class, because people come finally to IFTA class to learn. And I see the faces of the women who have been having companies for their husbands for years and years. And they're sitting there like, well, I calculate all the gallons. I put all the information together. I give them everything, trip reports, everything. So why do they charge me this? I said, why? Because you don't want to log in and just put the numbers and click another 15 minutes. So they taking advantage of you, but also they're not even telling you that you need this paperwork. And then when audit comes, you're not even compliant, because all they do, they just charge the money. Believe me, with IFTA, this is a joke. For people who have their own company, not to file their own IFTA, especially right now we're on ELDs. And if you have fuel card, you have all the
You have everything you need.
If you have 5 trucks, do you think they're gonna go? No, they're gonna tell you, put for us everything together. So you sitting there calculating, putting together,
doing all the work.
You already got the IFTA account. Everything is created. So what do? They just simply going through 48 states and putting numbers and clicking on your behalf, and you pay them. And you pay them. And I've seen charges for IFTA starting from $50 to $200, or it's $50 per truck. When IFTA is one file and it's combined, even if you have 20 trucks, all the numbers are combined. So they are putting those numbers once. They don't go by each truck. And that's another you probably didn't know, because now you have only 1 truck. So you're thinking, well, if I'm going to have 5 trucks, I have to do it 5 times. No, you're going to put the numbers together and you're going to click that once for each state. So maybe it's going to take you 20 minutes, because now you're going to have more miles. You have to pay attention. You're going to copy and paste how many times? Not even 48 times, because you're not going to 48 states. Some people stay only on Midwest and they only go to 3 states, and the people still charging them money. So that's why I say it's a ripoff. But we have so many people who do that. But on the other hand, if you are willing to pay, then they are good business people, I guess.
Yeah, because you know what? If it's just an owner operator that's on his truck, and he doesn't, let's say he doesn't have like a wife or girlfriend or someone else to do that for him. I could see how like just paying someone to take care of all of that for him could, so there's definitely space in the industry for that. So it's just being aware of what your options are, and also being aware of the process and what needs to be done and when. So yeah. Wow. So this has been really enlightening and very rich conversation. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today. Can you tell us how to contact you? If people want to work with you, just let us know how can we reach out?
Of course, you can find us on YouTube, Learn Dispatch Today. And our website is the same, learndispatchtoday.com. We also have a Facebook page, Dispatch Training Center. So they can reach out to us. They can call me personally, 224-600-3200. Probably you're going to have some links, right? So they can reach out to us. And again, don't hesitate. I'm okay with sharing information. I do believe that we can change this industry for better. And if we have more educated dispatchers, we're not going to be killing market. If we have business-oriented people who going to come in and do a good job, it's just, we are welcoming professionals in this industry. But you can become professional in no matter time. If you learn, if you have your goals, and that's why I would tell that it's possible, especially for women who have kids at home. Well, you can work from home. You can work from home, and we're talking about very, very generous making. Probably some of you don't even think that you can make as much. I can tell you this, approximately if you dispatch in 5-6 trucks, which is very easy to do, you being home mom, working from home, and you don't have to sit from 7 to 5. Some days it's going to be only 2 hours. Some days you don't even have to touch the phone, maybe just give updates for half an hour. You can make from 2,000 to 4,500 a week easy. This is not something I'm making up. This is my statistics with my students. I know. And of course, when you get on my level, we're talking about way, way bigger number, but it is possible. It is possible.
Yes, 100%. So, ladies, definitely please hit up Alexandra. Do you have an Instagram handle?
We have Instagram, we have TikTok, we have.
What's your Instagram also?
My Instagram is also Learn Dispatch Today.
Okay.
Everything Learn Dispatch.
So today. Learn Dispatch Today on all the socials.
On all the socials. Just the Facebook is Dispatch Training Center. I don't know why, because it's my corporation, so that's why it goes by Dispatch Training Center. But everything, TikTok, Instagram, Teachable. Learn Dispatch Today, Learn Dispatch Today, Learn Dispatch Today.
Okay.
Because Alexandra, you know what? You should learn today if you want to be a pro tomorrow. And
yes, I love that.
Start without knowledge. Do not start without knowledge, because once again, not that you just invest in some money for good starting, but you also have to understand you're going to be playing with somebody's businesses. You cannot start practicing on some carriers. I don't recommend it. I think it would be dishonest business, because they are on the road, they have their families. Nobody deserves somebody pretending that they know how to dispatch, thinking that they're gonna do a good job without the basic knowledge, telling them that, oh, I'm gonna run your safety when you have no clue about regulations. No, this is not fair. But is it possible? I mean, we're talking about what the cost of the class for safety, $699. Dispatch $799, when you can start making all this money and really learn the not just theory, but make those phone calls. I mean, Camille, you went probably to colleges, right? Can you get a profession where you can make from 60 to 150,000 for $800?
No, absolutely not. And that's the thing. As women, as business people, as human beings, we have to get to a point where we decide to invest in ourselves.
Yes.
We keep giving our money to these universities, and nothing against colleges or universities or anything like that, nothing against school. However, you come out of school after 4 years, you're $45,000 in debt, and then you can't find a job in the thing that you went to school for. So now you still have to, it's like you're pedaling backwards, you know? So now you have to still look around for other options, where in trucking, you don't need a degree, you don't need a master's or a bachelor's or anything. Not knocking it, not saying that that's not important for, you know, whatever.
I mean, it's a plus. It's a plus, but it's not something you need to go achieve first.
Exactly.
I can tell you, I see the students come to me because they decide, you know what, I'm not going to go to college anymore because, again, first, they cannot find a job. Even if they find a job, they cannot afford to survive on that. They come and they start making money right away. But this is something which can really become a business. It's like entrepreneur. And for this much money?
Yes. When you look at it, when you really look at it, like $45,000 in debt for a college education that I spent 4 years. And I'm sure that your program is not a 4-year program. I'm sure that
it takes us 5 weeks, 5 weeks. We have 5 classes. Each class is 4 to 5 hours, but in between you have assignments, you have quizzes, you have everything else. So I can tell you 5 weeks, then 2 more weeks of you practice and practice. So total 2 weeks, you're good to go. Some of my students, 30% of them find a job even before they finish. Because see, the difference is when you call somebody and you say, well, can I dispatch for you? They ask you, oh, do you have any experience? I tell my students, guys, after my classes, you know more than some of the dispatchers who've been dispatching for a few years. So they never say that they are new because they know the paperwork setup, they know negotiations, they know the market, they know the load boards, they even know some minimum of they need to know for regulations. They know HOS. So their level of knowledge is way higher than most of the dispatchers. That's why when they go and then they start talking on my level, I had so many times that my students call me and they say, do you know, I went for interview and they were asking me, you know so much about logistics. And I said, did you admit to them that you bring? He's like, no. And now you got hired? And he's like, yes. And then they call me because we have mentoring program and we meet up twice a month. And they're like, Alex, I know more than some of the people who've been dispatching for 4 or 5 years. Like, how do you feel? And he's like, I feel confident. And it's not a 1 or 2 people. I have so many people in mentoring who are telling us their stories.
Wow.
But then I also have a people, Camille, who call you, who is gonna ask you, oh, how much is it? Oh, why so much? And instead of asking, what are we gonna be covering this and that? How much is the carrier gonna pay me? Well, what are you bringing to the carrier? Do you have value?
Exactly.
And value comes first
because it's a
knowledge,
service.
with a service, with the knowledge. So a lot of times, that's why I like when people call me, I tell, please do not even enroll in my class. Your mindset is wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because and we have lots of people who think, oh, how much they worried, how much they're going to transfer me money, how much they're going to pay, what if they're going to backstab me? Who's going to backstab you? You don't even know what is a shipper, what is a receiver. You asking me if you need to get MC and you only worried about how much they're going to pay you. Well, girl,
never mind.
Guys, educate yourself first.
And you know, the dispatchers, people that are like that, they have the consideration, they don't consider that the carrier is an actual human being that has to face so many things out on the road. You know, knowing someone that is close to me, and I've actually been on the road with him a couple of times, and I see what he has to go through. And sometimes like the carriers deserve to get every penny that they get for the service that they provide. And they deserve to have people working on their behalf that actually know and understand what they are dealing with on a day-to-day basis. Because sometimes they have to sit in traffic and that we don't see that part. Sometimes they,
sometimes they have to make the transit. Sometimes you have to think about him. Well, did he sleep enough?
Exactly.
Oh, we have for 10 hours, but Did he really slept the 10 hours? Are you booking too close that most of the time his loads get canceled because you did not calculate HOS? Did you pre-book so he can plan his next day? That's why people say, well, why are you pre-booking most, for the next day? Well, because first of all, I already know what I'm doing and I know the market. Tomorrow's market might change $50, 75. But for my driver who knows that tomorrow he needs to pick up by 11, he can plan his rest. He can plan his shower. He can plan his food. He can even plan where he's gonna park his truck, especially if you go on the East Coast, right? Because he knows, well, I will be delivering 6 a.m. Where do I have to stop so I can still satisfy ELD, still make the transit, but I still have a safe place for the parking. But most of the dispatchers, they just think, oh, how much is he gonna pay me?
Yeah, it's a mindset. Definitely have to come from a service perspective rather than a taking what can I get perspective.
Plus knowing the operational cost, right? And that's how I get most of my drivers when I call them and I said, well, let's not talk about me making money. Let's see your operational cost. Let's see how much you spend in this. Maybe we need to change the game plan. Maybe you should not go to East Coast because its tolls are too expensive, right? Or maybe you have an older truck and it's breakdowns all the time. So maybe we should stay regional. So even if it's breakdowns, but you're close to home. Not somewhere in the mountains or North Dakota or South Dakota or
it's so all of that is so important.
And that's what it takes to become a pro. And I tell in my class, students asking me, Alex, when I'm going to be a pro like you? And I always say, to become a good dispatcher, it's going to take you 6 months. To become a pro, it's going to take you a year. You know why? Because you have to relieve all the seasons, all the spot markets, all the holidays.
And then the thing is, too, that things change. So it's like you're always learning, you're always developing. So even to say that you're a pro, like even though you've been doing this for a long time, you're still learning, I'm sure, because there are things that come up sometimes that
I sign up for all the trainings. Like, for example, they have on Tuesdays the live freight watch, right? I watch all the time on a Facebook. Whoever is teaching,
technology is changing,
and technology is changing. I go not to just trucking expo. We went to Expo in September with my students. It was logistics expo in Las Vegas finally after the COVID. Why? Because I have students who are really business oriented. They don't want just to be dispatchers. Yes, they have dispatch, but they want to become brokers. To become brokers, well, you need to meet supply and demand. You need to make those connections. You need to go and spend your money and go to Las Vegas convention, or you need to go to Chicago convention, or all those expos. So this is a business. That's why
it's all about
it's your mindset. But in the end of the day, it's also personal goals and limitations and dreams. Like right now, I can tell you this. I went to that expo and I met PowerMind. This is a big group and they have very successful people. And I'm personally on Monday nights, I sign up for her classes. She's been in business for 20 years. She is changing your mind, the way you look at. And you would say, wow, why do you need you successful? No, because you need to be with beginner's mind. Beginner's mind, that means I always can learn something. I am not an expert. I am learning with every phone call. I'm learning something new. So when you set yourself as you are always beginner, you're going to achieve lots. Anything you do, look at me. I started physical therapy, real estate, now trucking, now dispatch, teaching people. So when you have beginner's mind, guys, you can do anything, especially for girls. We're so powerful. You just need to have that vision. Goals, but you need to make steps. Step. So, we can all just talk about it, but we have to start do something. And
I love that. I love that.
Each other, because how many girlfriends do you have for years and years, right? And you guys meet and you have a glass of wine or barbecue, and some of them stay on the same level, but they blah, 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 blah. They have all these ideas. And when you ask, what did you do to start anything. What step? Did you make a phone call? Did you go get some knowledge? Did you open corporation? And they're like, no, you know what? Now I'm thinking about it, thinking for how many years? 5, 10? I've had it. I have people surrounding me. Actually, after a while, you're gonna stop associating yourself with people like that. Not because you are a mean person or because you're not friendly, because Camille, we need to grow. And to grow, you need to be around successful people who you can learn from. So this is another tip of the day. You want to succeed, you need to go for people who know more than you. And that's 100%. What I'm always looking for. I always want to talk, like if I see somebody, I reach out to them. And I am not afraid of admitting, you know what? I did not know that. Mm-hmm. I did not know that. And when people hear that you're honest, believe me, they're going to go extra mile to give you extra advice and information.
So true. So true.
You don't ask, you're never going to receive.
It's true.
Ask, right?
Yes, absolutely. And you mentioned about being in the right environment. And I know our time is gone, but I just wanted to just tap in on that when you said about being in the right environment is so important, because just like seeds, we all have these seeds of greatness on the inside of us. And if you throw seeds down on the countertop, it's never going to grow. It's not in the right environment. If you throw it on the sidewalk, it's not going to grow. If you throw it in stones, it might pop up real quick, but the roots are not going to go down. So like seeds really have to be planted in the right.
And they need to be watered with the knowledge.
Exactly.
Watered, and then harvest. And finally the first veggies comes or whatever, then a harvest second, and it gets bigger and blooming.
Absolutely.
Why? Because you connect yourself and surround yourself. And a lot of times people ask me, well, but I live in this area. I don't really have nothing around me. Guys, with the social media,
you have the internet. Absolutely.
You can belong to any. Look at us. We're doing via Zoom.
Yes.
So when you still telling me, well, I don't really have no one who I know who is successful. Well, sorry.
It's a mindset that needs to be changed.
Because especially now, that's why even with the classes, first I was hesitated how I can really teach through the Zoom, right? Mm-hmm. Especially live, 40 students in a class, 4 hours. You know, you live, you have to keep going. People ask questions. And then I just start loving it because you just so much, like you see the eyes, and in the beginning of the class, they're like, and then they're like sparkling, and people start understanding, and it just that's I'm telling you, this is like my drug. My classes is my drug. It's a free drug for me, that drug of success, because I'm empowering people. I'm just changing them, and somebody else doing it for me. Like right now I'm taking class to improve myself, because we always can improve,
Yeah, absolutely. That's just awesome. I know we can go on and on all evening.
We're going to probably schedule another podcast.
Yes, this would be absolutely. It would be great if we can definitely schedule a follow-up. Alexandra, once again, it was so wonderful having you here on the Lady Trucking CEO podcast. The information and the knowledge and the gems that you dropped has been so helpful. And I really believe that our listeners will really get a lot out of it. And so thank you once again.
Thank you, Camille, for inviting us.
Oh, no problem at all. So once again, thank you everyone for tuning into the Lady Trucking CEO podcast. We look forward to catching up with you guys next time. Alexandra, thanks again. Have a wonderful evening.
Yeah. Stay safe on the road and start making that money.
Yes.
I'll
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.